Today's episode of RS Gist is titled, "The Russians Used a Pencil. Why Perfection Isn't Always the Best Solution." Subtitle, "Discover how focusing on progress over perfection can help you overcome obstacles, make quicker decisions, and achieve success faster, without getting bogged down in unnecessary details." TLDR summary. Keep things simple. Sometimes, to make progress, you have to figure out what is important and not sweat the small stuff. A quick and imperfect solution may be better than a solution that is perfect but takes too long to implement. The story goes that NASA needed a pen for astronauts to be able to write in space. They had the challenge of not having gravity to ensure the ink flows down through the pen and onto the page. They invested in a lot of engineering to invent an anti-gravity pen. This took a lot of time and financial resources, especially when considering the context of the space race between the US and other countries looking to make progress in space. The Russians, however, just used a pencil and were able to keep on making progress. The lesson. The lesson here is that sometimes we overcomplicate solutions to problems. Sometimes, the most elegant solution may not be the right solution. Instead, the solution may be something that allows you to get unstuck and keep making progress. While we often look for the perfect solution, sometimes it's more important to keep moving forward with a good enough solution. Perfection can be a hindrance when time is critical. The key is knowing when to focus on progress over perfection. Have you ever heard the saying, "Done is better than perfect"? This is the sort of thinking. It's not to say that you shouldn't be thorough in your work. It's more about understanding priorities and what is needed in the moment. The takeaway. Whenever you encounter roadblocks in things you're working on, whenever you find yourself overthinking or stuck on a problem, remember the phrase, "The Russians used a pencil." It's a reminder to focus on simplicity and take the quickest routes to progress. The first solution may not be final, but it will get you moving, which is half the battle. Storytime 1. Live streaming a wedding. Two close friends of mine were getting married, but many of their family members lived far away and couldn't attend the ceremony in person. They wanted their loved ones to experience the event in real time and share in the joy of their special day. The first thought might have been to hire a professional production crew to record the wedding with multiple cameras, edited highlights, and cinematic effects. However, this would have been expensive, and the real-time connection they were looking for wouldn't have been possible. What mattered most was simplicity and immediacy, enabling their family to feel as though they were present at the ceremony. In true Russians used a pencil fashion, they asked me, a YouTuber friend, to help live stream their wedding. With a limited budget and a focus on the experience, I got creative with the tools we had on hand. Here's what we used. A camera phone for capturing clear video of the ceremony, a tripod borrowed from another friend to keep the phone steady, a laptop connected to the Google Meet call to manage the live stream and display a pre-ceremony slideshow, wireless microphones clipped onto the couple to ensure their vows were clearly audible to online guests. The setup was simple but effective. I sent out a Google Meet invitation the night before, ensuring family members had easy access to the stream. Before the ceremony began, I used my laptop to display a slideshow of family photos to keep online guests engaged. When it was time for the ceremony, we switched to the camera phone to capture the couple's vows live. After the ceremony, the couple came to the camera to interact with their virtual guests, answering questions and sharing heartfelt moments. The entire event was recorded on Google Meet, so family members who couldn't watch live could view it later. This simple solution allowed us to create a meaningful experience without overcomplicating things. By focusing on what mattered most, bringing people together in real time, we used readily available tools to make the day unforgettable for everyone, near and far. A word of caution. What is good enough? In taking on this advice of the Russians used a pencil, also ask yourself, what is good enough? This answer will vary for different contexts. When I need to do a rough draft to give an idea of something to a colleague, a rough draft is enough. If it's a pitch presentation to a potential investor, on the other hand, I can't afford to put forward a rough draft. I would need something more polished. Knowing the context can help you prioritize speed over perfection, or vice versa. Storytime 2. when this principle or heuristic failed me. I once followed the principle of quick and simple in recording a voiceover without checking my equipment. I didn't check the quality of the microphone that I was using and the environment I was recording in. Although I did end up recording the voiceover and making edits, it didn't sound as good as I would have liked. If it was just an audition with people who I knew, who just wanted to get an idea of the pacing for a video, it may have been good enough. But because I was recording for an article where I wanted to showcase my voice, the standard for good enough was higher. What I could have done to see if what I had would have worked would have been to do a sample recording before recording the full script to see if it would have been good enough. In doing this, I would have noticed problems with the recording early on, and I would have been able to figure out ways to fix it, or simply commit to waiting to have a more appropriate setup. The cost of not doing this was that I ended up having to wait and then record the full script again when I got to a better location. In reality, I could have just waited or improved my recording setup before recording all the way. In the space race story, using a pencil could actually have failed in the grander scheme of things. According to Scientific American, the flakes and pencil lead that break off and drift into microgravity could actually be harmful to both astronauts and equipment. Pencils are also flammable. They did start off using a pencil, but they subsequently had to switch to anti-gravity pens, which they did not invest the research and development budget in, but instead bought from what was available on the market. Note that although imperfect, they did start with pencils and soon moved to better solutions. A quick note on that, the actual story about the Russians using a pencil is more of a myth than reality, but it contains many useful lessons for illustration. So just bear that in mind. It's not quite true, but it's very helpful. All right, let's get back to the article. Now that we've explored the key takeaway, let's look at some practical solutions where applying the Russians used a pencil mindset can help you move forward faster and more effectively. So, where can I apply this in my life? Here are some examples of contexts I can think of where the Russians used a pencil can be applied. Launching an MVP, so minimum viable product. When developing a new product, speed matters more than perfection. Instead of waiting for everything to be flawless, release a version that works and iterate based on feedback. Starting a new project with limited resources. When time or money is tight, consider using a simpler solution or a temporary fix to keep the project moving forward. You can always improve later when resources allow. Then, quick decision making in business. In business, quick decisions can be more beneficial than prolonged deliberations. Don't overthink. Go with the option that offers the fastest path to learning and improvement. Then, there are personal projects and side hustles. When you're working on a passion project or side hustle, don't get caught up in perfectionism. Focus on making progress and refining over time. Conclusion. In the end, the Russians used a pencil. Serves as a powerful reminder, while perfection is often desired, it's progress that truly counts. By focusing on simple, efficient solutions, you'll find yourself moving forward faster, making mistakes along the way, but learning and adapting just as quickly. Sometimes, the quickest, imperfect action is the best way to break free from stagnation and keep pushing toward your goals. It's also important to balance this with the standard required for the context you find yourself. So, what are some areas you can apply this principle to in your life? Let me know in the comments. This has been RS Gist, read to you by the author, Ore Araba. I look forward to catching you in the next episode. But in the meantime, check out some videos that may appear on your screen, probably on this side or that side. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe, and even more importantly, share it with someone who this video could be helpful to, and remind them whenever they get stuck, the Russians used a pencil. All right, take care.